What happens after a Baker Act? Have you ever wondered what takes place after someone is placed under the Baker Act? This law allows for involuntary mental health examination and temporary detention. Let's break down the steps that follow. First, once a person is placed under the Baker Act, they are transported to a designated receiving facility. This is usually a mental health hospital or clinic that can handle emergency evaluations. Law enforcement typically assists with this transport to ensure safety. Upon arrival, the individual must undergo a psychiatric evaluation. This evaluation is conducted by a qualified mental health professional, such as a clinical psychologist or psychiatrist. It must happen within 72 hours of admission. The purpose of this evaluation is to assess the person's mental health status and determine if further treatment or hospitalization is necessary. After the evaluation, mental health professionals will decide if the individual needs to be detained longer or if they can be released. This decision is based on specific criteria. They must find clear evidence that the person has a mental illness that poses a substantial likelihood of serious harm to themselves or others. They also need to determine if the individual is unable to make informed decisions about their care due to their mental state. Lastly, they must assess if there are any less restrictive alternatives available that would adequately address the situation. At the end of the 72-hour evaluation period, one of a few outcomes will occur. The individual may be released if they no longer meet the criteria for involuntary treatment. This releases can be unconditional or may include recommendations for outpatient treatment. Alternatively, they may be admitted voluntarily or involuntarily to a mental health facility for further treatment if they continue to meet the criteria. If the individual is charged with a crime, they may be detained under criminal justice procedures instead of the Baker Act. It is important to note that the Baker Act process includes safeguards to protect the individual's legal rights. There is judicial oversight if involuntary inpatient placement is pursued beyond the initial period. Mental health professionals and community mental health centers may also be involved in evaluating alternatives to hospitalization. This ensures that treatment options are appropriate and as least restrictive as possible. When considering substance abuse and addictions, the Baker Act can serve as an important intervention. This is especially true when mental illness occurs alongside substance use disorders. If a person's behavior poses a risk to themselves or others, the Baker Act can help. After the evaluation, integrated treatment plans that address both mental health and substance use issues may be recommended. This approach aims to improve outcomes and reduce the risk of relapse or harm. In summary, after a Baker Act, the individual undergoes a psychiatric evaluation at a receiving facility. The outcome can lead to either releases or further treatment based on clinical and legal criteria. This process aims to balance immediate safety needs with respect for the person's rights and the goal of providing appropriate mental health care.